This is a Dicegate podcast. We begin with a bright flash of light and a pop, as a lifeless body is illuminated as a photograph is taken. The body lays upon the dilapidated cobblestone courtyard of the Aurum Lumina factory Concord within the district of Nevermore known as the Ore. We see the body is mangled, nearly split in two from the neck down to the pelvis. On the ground remains various organs and entrails as this body was eviscerated violently. Surrounding it, a pool of blood mixed with some type of dark liquid. We see another pop and a flash of bright light that captures this gruesome scene as we watch the camera lower, revealing the one wielding it. We see a woman in her early 30s, wearing a long black jacket, dark pants, and a shirt with short brown hair, a pixie cut would be the best way to describe her hairstyle. Her build is that of a runner as she kneels down toward the remains to get a better look. We see her eyes narrow on this dark liquid that seems to continually ooze from the body. We watch her place the camera down next to her as she reaches inside to grab a vial from her jacket, and as she does, we catch a glimpse of a badge with the abbreviation OUP, also known as the Office of Unexplained Phenomena. As she uncorks the vial, we hear the sound of footsteps approaching her as we shift our focus towards the other figures. One is of a man in his late 50s, balding and stout in stature, a pair of thick spectacles upon his nose, wearing clothes that are overdue for a change, carrying a leather doctor's bag in one hand. Beside him, we see another figure, a man in his early 40s, sharp jawline, short black hair, wearing a navy blue suit with polished gold buttons and various insignia upon his uniform, with an officer cap upon his head. As he approaches, we see his badge, Corporal Hannigan of the Sentinels, the policing body of Nevermore. We watch Corporal Hannigan and the doctor move toward the woman, who stands to attention as Corporal Hannigan speaks to her. Officer Navarro? Corporal? Any ideas what happened here? Honestly, not a clue, but I don't think it's the suspect we have. There's no way any person is capable of doing this, as she points towards the body. We watch Corporal Hannigan kneel towards it, taking a good look. We see that he seems a little taken aback by it, trying to hold his composure. The doctor, on the other hand, holds up a cloth to his mouth, sweat pooling on his forehead. Well, before we jump to any conclusions, I think we should have our expert, the good doctor here, do a proper examination and a post-mortem report before we let our main suspect loose. Sir, with all due respect, I can't see how that kid over there did it. I mean, look at him. As she says this, we shift our focus to the young man in question. We see a gaunt and frail individual, his hands handcuffed behind his back. We see a large gash across his shoulder upon his jumpsuit, which is torn and the rest of it covered in viscera and blood. As the young man lifts his head, we see the familiar face of Viktor Crowel, and standing next to him, another Sentinel officer, watching him closely as we shift our focus back to Officer Navarro, the doctor, and Corporal Hannigan. We can't be for certain, considering who he's related to. What is that supposed to mean? As Officer Navarro says this, Corporal Hannigan adjusts his cap and begins walking in that direction, but turns back to face Officer Navarro. Nothing you need to worry about here, officer. You focus on doing whatever it is that you do, this hocus-pocus work, and leave the interrogation to me. As he says that, he leaves the doctor and Officer Navarro as he strides toward Viktor. Viktor, you hear the footsteps approaching, echoing off the buildings that reside here within this Aurum Lumina courtyard as they come to a stop next to you. Officer Jasper, you're relieved from watching our suspect here. Please keep an eye on the doctor and our friend Officer Navarro over there. Let me know if there's anything they say that should be brought to my attention. Understood? We see Officer Jasper nod and walks away, leaving Corporal Hannigan and Viktor. Corporal Hannigan kneels down to be at eye level with Viktor, looking him in the eyes. Viktor Crowel, correct?
Yeah, that is me.
All right, Mr. Crowel. What can you, tell me about what happened here this evening? What's your story?
I mean, you have not heard it yet? You must have already.
I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. What is it?
Okay, I went out for a break. I was just talking. You know, it's a regular day for us. We go out, and he. Do you believe in ghosts?
I mean, being honest, not really, but you have me interested. Continue.
Well, something along those lines came out of him. I was smoking, and he started to fall to the ground, and something came out of him. It was like almost like blood, but it wasn't the right color. It started to drip, and he fell to the ground convulsing, and he exploded. His legs emerged from his chest cavity, and he had been fine moments ago, and then he wasn't.
Interesting.
I know I sound crazy, and I know what you must have heard. But I am telling you, something emerged from him. Nothing that I have seen before.
All right, Viktor. Well, I got another question for you. Just to kind of settle some questions I have in my own mind about this situation here. The last name Crowel sounds... I feel like I've heard it somewhere before. Maybe the papers, or... You know, that's right. Are you by chance related to a Lydia Crowel?
I am. She was my grandmother. She passed just a year ago.
Well, from what I read, she was known too for having some strange visions. Or what I heard, at least. And maybe it runs in the family.
So you believe everything you read? Someone tells you something, you believe it? Is that easy to get into your head?
It's not that I necessarily believe everything I read. But you have to understand, Viktor. He leans in closer. I can get my information elsewhere than everybody else has access to. And I've heard things about your grandma.
Are you trying to intimidate me? You have me in cuffs. I don't know what else you are trying to do, because if you are trying to do something, it's not working.
He just stares at you for a moment. As he does, we're going to shift our focus away from Viktor and Corporal Hannigan as we see three figures approaching the outer perimeter of the courtyard that leads into this section of the ore district where several factories that process Aurum Lumina reside. We see this fence that stretches around it in this U shape. As these figures approach, we see outside the gate, as they pass by, these Model T style cars with the symbol of the Sentinel precinct upon it. There is also a horse-drawn carriage that bears the painted text "Coroner" upon the backside of it. As they approach, the only space that is illuminated beyond this in the courtyard is some gas lanterns that are set up near the scene of the event. As we shift our focus to the faces of these three figures, the familiar faces of Arthur, Marvin, and Dominik. As they stand on the edge of the courtyard, you would see 3 figures standing next to what looks like the remains of someone on the ground. You see 2 of them kneeling down to examine the body, the other watching the surrounding area. Beyond them, you see 2 other figures near one of the buildings to the right of them. You see one sitting on the ground, their hands behind their back, and the other kneeling down in conversation with them. As you all stand on the edge of this entrance, the gate open to walk through, you get a good look of the area, the buildings surrounding it, these dark silhouettes covered in ashen soot. As the 3 of you stand here, Arthur, Marvin, and Dominik, what are you all doing?
I think as we walk up, I will point over to Viktor on the ground and say, "That's the ex-student of mine that I told you about on the way here. Reason to believe he didn't do it." And I'll point over to seemingly the body on the ground and say, "I think the belief here is that's where the phenomenon happened, that we want to get a closer look at. So how do y'all want to handle this?"
Well, there's no way that kid did that.
I'd be down to try and convince him to get out of here.
Alright, so you want to take the individual talking to Viktor?
Absolutely. Yeah, no problem at all. Maybe I'll buy you a little space so you can talk to Viktor.
Alright. I'm assuming we should take a look at the phenomenon then. I'll get my stuff ready as we walk over, see if I can compare it to anything. It looks like they might have someone over there that might have a better idea than what's going on other than the standard sentinels, the one with the camera, but I guess we'll see when we get closer. We'll have to talk to them.
Yeah, I bet you this is well beyond what the sentinel can understand.
Alright, let's get it done. Now let's start walking.
As will I. I'll stride right up, making first steps towards the sentinel near Viktor.
As you all walk through the threshold of the gate, as you kind of start to disperse a bit there, you do notice that the officer that was keeping a lookout near the body, looks towards your group as they call out. "Excuse me, you cannot be here. This is an active crime scene."
We're just concerned citizens. We heard some disturbances and we wanted to make a report. We heard, I'm happy to do so.
Marvin, as you call out, you see one of the other figures stands up. This woman waves over to your group and she begins heading in your direction. She looks towards the other officer there. "I'll chat with him. Don't worry about this." As she starts approaching your group. But you do see, as she does, the officer that called out to you begins to head towards Viktor and Corporal Hannigan. The woman approaches. The 3 of you would recognize this individual, Officer Navarro. The OUP, the Office of Unexplained Phenomena, will sometimes reach out to Candela for assistance in things like this. So as she approaches, looking at your group, "Dominik, Marvin, Arthur, I was hoping you all would have made it here sooner, but glad Alex got the message to you."
At least they were wise enough to send someone from OUP, if not us.
Have you found out any leads, officer?
I'm not sure what did this. This is something I personally have not come across during my time working for the OUP.
That is the wisest thing I've heard from someone from your office. You'd actually admit that you don't understand it. That's a good step.
Always the wise ass, Dominik.
He beat me to it. I was gonna say it was that kid over there for sure.
Well.
Yeah, what's with that? Look at his little arms. He has nothing to do with this. Why is he cuffed up over there?
That's what I said to Corporal Hannigan over there, but...
Okay, good.
He's kind of... Well, you'll if you have the pleasure of speaking with him, you'll know. But I don't think... The kid didn't do this. I know Corporal Hannigan's going to try and put it on him because of the nature of the situation, but if you see this body, there is no way he did this. It's just there's a lot of like this black ichor around the body, but beyond that, That's why I called you all here, to see maybe if you can find something I'm not seeing.
So no other witnesses have made themselves known?
Well, there were the couple that saw Viktor next to the body after whatever happened, but they've been debriefed and sent away. Their witness reports have been taken.
Okay.
Beyond that, the only other one that would have seen what happened was the kid.
Well, if he's our only witness, someone should tell a corporal over there that you get more flies with honey. I don't know why he's got him cuffed, and looks like he's browbeating him right now.
Yeah, he always thinks he can just get up in people's faces and think that that's gonna work, but one of these days somebody's just gonna spit in his face, and that's probably, maybe that's what he wants. I don't know.
Think you could get us some FaceTime with Viktor or with the body, like without Corporal there?
Yeah, let me see what I can do. As she says this, you see that at this point, Corporal Hannigan is heading in the direction of your group.
Oh, great.
All right, maybe if one of you stays here with me and we can chat with them, a couple of you can go try and maybe look at the...
Oh, I'm happy to talk with Corporal Hannigan anytime. Hi, Corporal. I know that I have a couple things that I'm supposed to report to you.
All right, who sent you? Officer Navarro, who are these folks here? I called for them. This is... She points to the three of you. This is Dominik, Marvin, and Arthur here.
They're my bodyguards. I was a little scared to come into the district after what I saw.
Dominik stands tall, tries to look the part. It's not hard for him.
Corporal Hannigan looks at the three of you, looks at Marvin, looks at Dom, kind of nods, then looks at Arthur. Bodyguard?
I think having heard him say that, I almost look up from the open book I had, trying to pull stuff up. Like, yes. That's why we're here.
Sometimes you need a smart one, too.
All right, well... What?
They're just gonna stand over there, but I have to make a private report to you. This is kind of a little, embarrassing. So...
All right, you were here at the scene when this happened. I'm trying to make sense of all that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so I tend to like to just try to peddle my wares after payday. It's kind of the best spot. They're a little receptive to like purchasing stuff after they've gotten money. You know how it is, right?
All right.
Well, I was trying to get a bunch of them out here, and I noticed that there was a bunch of gloom being sold, and so I was just kind of keeping an eye out so I could gather information for all you kind officers, and I heard a giant commotion and just, I think maybe one of the machines like exploded and maybe hit this poor man. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a whole bunch of people, but it was super loud. I could point you and show you and describe where it all happened.
As you explain this to Corporal Hannigan, his eyes narrow as they look at Marvin. Go ahead and make a sway roll for me.
Absolutely. I will spend a drive. Actually, I will not spend a drive. It's gilded, and I have 2 dice. So I'm gonna roll 2, with one of them being gilded. Is this high stakes or low stakes?
It is a high stakes roll.
So my gilded die is a 6.
As you're explaining this to them, he gets a little bit closer, nodding. All right, well, if you want to show me what you're talking about, I'm happy to oblige.
Absolutely. Thank you, Corporal. I knew you were a good, upstanding officer of the law. let's just start where I saw the gloom being sold. That's really important to this as well, because I think it may have been involved with the murder. Is that what happened? I think so. So let's just go around this way.
And I'm gonna just take him for a very, very long walk around this factory, buying as much time as I can. I will point out mundane things. I will slip things into things if I need to.
Okay. All right. So because you're trying to distract Corporal Hannigan, I'm going to introduce a countdown dice in this scenario. So I'm going to say because you rolled a 6 on your dice there for the success on just convincing him to go do this anyways, I'm going to start it at a 5. So essentially, that'll be the amount of time you allow your companions to try and get what they need before Corporal Hannigan is done being walked around. So you see Corporal Hannigan, Dominik, and Arthur. You see Corporal Hannigan and Marvin begin heading towards the factory as you hear Marvin explaining what they saw and keeping them distracted for the time being, giving you two the opportunity to do what you need to do. So, on that note, what are Dom and Arthur doing in this moment as you're given this time by your other circle member, Marvin?
Well, while Marvin is playing the professional tour guide, Arthur, here, I brought a bleed containment vial. Maybe you want to look at the body, and I'll go see about your student, Viktor.
I think that's probably the best plan. There's one other individual over there, I believe, with Viktor, right?
There is. So as you look over with Viktor, there is another officer there standing next to Viktor.
I'll turn to Officer Navarro here and say, I say we go take a look at the bodies. Is there any way you can get that officer over here as well? Maybe he can assist in explaining what may have happened.
Yeah, we can.
As far as he's aware, at least.
I'll go get him for you if you like.
Sure, that works. I'll bring Arthur over to the body here, and we can begin looking over it. And yes, Dom, if you don't mind doing that, that would be great.
So Dom is gonna trot over there. You know, he doesn't want to look like he's in a hurry, but he certainly doesn't want to just walk. So a good healthy trot over. And what do I see when I walk up?
Yeah, when you walk over, Officer Jasper is just standing next to Viktor, his arms crossed, watching you approach.
I've met Jasper before?
You've never met Officer Jasper.
Okay. And he's wearing the Sentinel uniform or not?
Yes, he is the Sentinel. Yeah, he's a Sentinel precinct officer, like Corporal Hannigan.
Okay, so I know he's incompetent. Got it. I stand very tall, and I assume that I am much larger than him. I'm not great at intimidation, but I'm very good at being intimidating. Your colleague over there, he's asking for you. I'm going to have a moment with the prisoner. Not going to give him any credentials, nothing. Not until he asks for it. I'm going to see how much clout I just had by just walking over.
As you walk and bring your presence and command, essentially, this officer that's been hailed to go assist, go to make a sway roll for me. This is going to be another high-stakes situation.
All right, so I've got 2. Then I'm going to use a drive. Okay. So that's one more die. Here we go. Okay, I got a 4 and 2 2s, so a 4.
He looks at you for a minute. My orders were to stay here, watch the suspect.
I'm not arguing that. But are you suggesting that your new orders will be ignored? You want me to walk back there and tell them that?
He doesn't say anything.
This is just a professional courtesy, like I'm doing him a favor. That's how I say it.
He doesn't say anything to you, but he does begrudgingly leave. But I will set the expectation that because that was a mixed success, there will likely be factors that will play in later from that.
Yes, it seems like he'll talk about me once he gets to his commanding officer.
Mm-hmm. And that's actually going to drop the countdown dice down by 1.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Because he is now being sent over to his commanding officer, to Corporal Hannigan, who is being walked around by Marvin, being told something that was false. So he walks away, heading towards Corporal Hannigan and Marvin, but you are alone here with Viktor.
Okay, I'll flash a look at Arthur and let him take part in as his part of the mechanics through this.
As we cut away from Dom to Arthur, Officer Navarro brings you over to the body. Arthur, it is pretty. You've seen some interesting things during your time in Candela, but this is certainly beyond the scope of things you have experienced so far. This body is quite, well, it's not in good shape.
I think as I walk up, I will pull the handkerchief out, covering my nose and mouth, before squatting down next to it and say, "Officer, if you can at least let me know what you've found so far to minimize the amount of touching I have to do, I would appreciate it."
As you say this to her, she kneels down. So I've already collected a little bit of whatever this dark liquid is here. And as she points it out, you see that there is this like iridescent sheen to it, but you notice, as she says it, there are like flecks of almost scarlet red flakes within the black ichor, this dark liquid. She shows that to you. This is all I've collected so far. Beyond that, I don't think that whatever did this was, I don't think a human being could do this.
When I see that vial she has, does it look like what's currently coming out of the body?
It does, yes. It looks absolutely similar.
I will go ahead and I'll take that bleed containment vial that Dominik gave me and scoop some of it up myself. Before taking out my, what I typically use to lecture, my collapsible stick that lets me point to the top of the boards to see if I can start moving the body around a little bit and see if I can get a better idea of the damage that's been done to it, other than the obvious.
Yeah, as you take out the stick there and kind of start looking at the body, the coroner, the doctor there is like, "What are you trying to do? I don't think you this is a crime scene, and messing with the body and evidence is against protocol."
I think I'm going to stop immediately when I hear that, and just, without moving, just turn my head towards him and be like, "Do I know you? Or something?"
He pushes glasses up his face.
"Oh, I did, I didn't think I did, so thanks." And I'll turn her back and just keep doing what I was doing.
Okay, so as you move the body around, go ahead and make a focus roll for me.
Due to my meticulous notes, I get another D6 for this. Okay, this. One of them's gilded, and I'll spend one drive on it as well, so 4 dice. Okay. That is a 5.
A 5. Okay. As you look at the body and move it around, the sight of this, you spend most of your time in halls, in libraries. You didn't spend time on the battlefield during the war, but you've heard stories of things that happened. And as you look and see the way this body was basically peeled in half, like a piece of fruit just torn open, there's this moment where the sight is so overwhelming that you have to look away as you take a brain.
Do I get an idea of, kind of, at least from my book studies here, anything that might have been able to do this?
Yeah, in your peripheral, you see trails of this black ichor heading towards a building to the northwest of this courtyard. And the other thing you see is what looks like this white silk threading material that seems to come out of where essentially the top of the ribcage, the sternum would be. There's traces of just this white silken material. And as you see that and regain your focus, you think to your book, to your notes. You know there's something in your books. This is something I've studied before. As you grab your book, in this moment, you flip the pages to a section where you've tucked away written notes during your time at Candela, and you flip it open and you see this image of this creature with these long, gaunt legs, this bulbous head, this maw that has endless rows of teeth. As you're looking what is known as a nightmare crawler.
I think I'm going to turn the book so that the officer can say, "Does this look like something that could do that?"
Is that even real?
Well, I guess we're gonna find out. And I will clap my book shut, stand up, and start walking back over to Dom.
Okay, so we cut away from Arthur, and we...
Danse Macabre is a sassy bunch. What's our time? What's the countdown?
So with that, that's actually going to drop it down to 3 because of the mixed success. As we shift over to Marvin, who is walking along with Corporal Hannigan, explaining what they saw. So I'm trying to wrap my head around all of this. Explain that to me again.
Yeah, so this is where I kind of chased off the individuals selling gloom, the little, middle-aged woman, and I think it was her son who was also peddling it too. But one of them tucked, a weapon around the corner here, and I actually think I might be able to find it if you want to help me look.
So you're telling me an old woman, and you said their son?
Middle-aged.
Middle-aged, all right, this middle-aged woman.
She's a little bit stronger.
All right, so you're telling me a middle-aged woman and her son are selling glimmer? Is that...
Yeah, I think that's what they call it on the streets.
All right, well, show me this weapon. Think you saw them, I guess, have it on them.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to sleight of hand while we're rummaging through the corners of these alleys. I'm going to try and sleight of hand my own hand weapon, my little knife that I have. It's pretty decent size. It's not a folding knife. It's one that I had in my boot. And I'm going to put a little bit of my flash powder that I have and right on the blade, and then try to basically call out attention that I found something that they were cutting the drugs with.
As you go to try and place your own weapon, you hear the footsteps of the other officer approaching Corporal Hannigan. He turns back to him. Hold on one second. I think they found something over here.
Oh, thank God you're here, officer. We needed a second pair of eyes. A third pair. I'm going to help too.
So go ahead, and this is going to be a hide check for me, Marvin. This is obviously high stakes as you attempt to try and pull the wool over these two officers' eyes and give your companions more time.
Yep, so this is the same thing. I'm going to roll 1 gilded and 1 regular die.
Okay.
I'm not going to spend any drive. So my gilded is a 4. My regular is a 3. I'm going to take the 4, obviously. But I'm going to use a flourish and spend 2 of the cunning drives and move it up to a full success. That might use my flourish. So I'm going to cut a little grin, beaming at them as the other officer comes in, and I'm going to actually accidentally kick one of the boxes and kind of reveal the knife with my foot.
Oh, are you all right? Did you...
I stumbled. I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Oh my gosh,
I tripped on something, I think.
Corporal Hannigan walks over. Well, hot damn, yeah, I guess you weren't kidding.
Oh, what is it? What'd you find? Did you find the weapon?
Yeah, there's a knife here. Huh.
That was the one that they were using with the drugs. I'm glad you found it. I feel a lot safer now.
Jasper, can you come over here? Do you have something you can collect this with? You see Officer Jasper walks over and pulls out a white cloth from his jacket and kneels down to collect the knife on the ground. As he does, we're going to cut away from Marvin, who is still distracting them, back to Dominik and Viktor, who are now alone in this moment. Beyond, and as Arthur's approaching the two of you, and you would see still Officer Navarro and the doctor, the coroner, still examining the body.
Okay, so if Arthur's on his way over, it means a couple things, but hopefully it means he's done with the body and he's discovered what he needs to discover. And Dom will lower himself onto his flanks, and your professor there doesn't believe you ripped that guy apart.
I don't believe I ripped that guy apart.
It's okay, neither do I.
You're kind of big for a cop.
Cop? No, I've seen way more than any cop has seen. Listen, if you got nothing to do with this, except maybe you witnessed it, we need to talk to you. These people don't know what they're doing. We're gonna get you out of here.
Out of here, legally out of here, or we are running out of here?
Well, he sidesteps and gets behind him and gets his ham-sized fists around the cuffs. And he looks up to see Arthur approach. Let me just talk to my colleague before I make any decisions that are, where I can't do any do-overs, like with a broken chain.
For the record, too, I would like to avoid a broken arm. I kind of have a frail frame, some might say, so if you could just be just a little gentle.
I'm not blind. Don't worry. I know you're paper thin. Arthur, what do you think? Mm-hmm. Should I just bust him out? Looks like, the clock's ticking.
I'll go ahead, real quick, flash him open the page of the nightmare. Be like, about 90% sure this did it. I don't think he did.
That, I think there's a good chance, GM, that I've seen these in the field.
Yeah, so as Arthur shows this to both of you, essentially, Dominik, you have absolutely seen these. And you know that they will torment your mind. They are known for being stealthy and encroaching on individuals that are sleeping, and when they do, they never wake up unless you bring them down. You had soldiers in your platoon that were unfortunately around one of these while they were sleeping, and they were just locked in this infinite nightmare.
Oh, so they go to sleep and they don't wake up. Okay.
And then Viktor, as you see this image as Arthur's holding it out, this is what you saw, without a doubt.
I'm pretty sure that's what I saw. I tried to fight it with a knife. Do you know how do I say it? How it got into him? How it got into Philip?
No, if I heard correctly, was there something to do with it coming out of him? He looks like he.
Yeah, it did.
Sorry if it's a friend of yours. We don't have time for niceties. Looked like he exploded, or was burst from the inside. Like you can't rip someone apart like that from the outside.
It was more like an implosion.
Okay.
I don't even know how it fit inside of him. It came out and it was 3-4 times the size.
Son, I need to urge you to stop depending on the logic of things that you've known. What you've seen today is not like other things.
I've started to see crazy things. I guess it makes sense.
You saw things?
I see many things. I mean, do you have something specific in mind?
Well, it's just that these get into your head.
Well,
I thought maybe it was just while they were sleeping, but it could be elsewise.
I don't think anything related to this, but it's an entire story. If we get out of this, I'll fill you in. But
Viktor will kind of like look around for a second.
Should we be getting out of here?
Yeah. Okay, so this is going to be a big roll.
Yeah, so as the handcuffs, you're going to just try and sheer force pull these apart. So this is going to be a strike high stakes on this as you are trying to literally pull metal apart.
Okay, so I've got a gilded, and I've got 3 points on it.
Okay, so that's two regular dice, 1 gilded, without adding any drive.
And I'm going to I can roll up to 6 die, right? 6 dice?
Correct.
Okay, I'm going to do it all. Okay, 6 die. That's the wrong color. Phew, I almost had lots of gilded. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is Dom, just his arms bunching like redwoods. Huge hands flexing. Oh. Okay, so I got a 6. It's not gilded though, but I'll take it.
Okay, so as you flex your arms like redwoods, as you describe, you hear the bending of metal getting tauter and tauter and tauter, and then it snaps in a way that it actually, just the sheer force causes this like echo, this vibration through, and it causes the latches on each of the cuffs to just break as Viktor's wrists are freed from these handcuffs here.
Dom opens his hands and lets the metal tumble to the ground, and in the next second he has his 44 in his hand. Arthur, point me in the direction.
Yeah, it looks like, at least from the tracks I was able to see, went that way, and I'll hold up my finger and point to the building I saw the bleeding glue going towards, and I'll turn to Officer Navarro, who I'm assuming has seen this, say, if you'd like to fight a demon, feel free to carry along. If not, completely understandable and probably the more rational choice. And I'll start walking that way.
And Dom will full bull charge in that direction, trusting Arthur, because this is what he does, to keep everyone away from me while I do my work.
Okay. All right. So as you charge forward, Arthur following, what is Viktor doing in this moment? As you are now freed and you see these two figures heading in the direction of where you saw this creature leap through the window.
I think Viktor will first kind of call out to them and be like,
Where do you want me to go?
Well, I mean, if you care about any amount of vengeance for your friend there, I'd advise you to tag along.
Victor will kind of tap his foot for just a second and then immediately just pull out his little tiny pocket knife that he's got on him and will start to just trudge right after him.
All right. So as Victor, as you follow, catching up to Arthur, Dom leading the way, getting closer to the building, you see Officer Navarro kind of just keeping an eye out, looking for... She nods as you all pass by her. She's trying to look around and find Marvin, Corporal Hannigan, and Officer Jasper. As we cut away from the group here in the courtyard, back to Marvin, Corporal Hannigan, and Officer Jasper, as Officer Jasper looks to Corporal Hannigan. So apparently you wanted to speak with me about something. The big burly man told me there was something you need to discuss. I told you to stay with the suspect. That was an order. Marvin, you would hear this conversation going on as Officer Jasper looks towards Corporal Hannigan. I knew he was lying.
Oh, I don't think he was lying. I think he was probably meaning for you to come get me. Let's go back. Let's go see what's going on.
So you start heading back in that direction. They're moving pretty quickly, pretty briskly, heading back towards the main area of the crime scene. As
Officers, I appreciate your hurry, but slow down. Let me keep up with you, or I'm going to be unsafe. The glimmer crazed people could still be out here.
Go ahead, Marvin. This is going to be another sway roll, trying to convince them to slow down. This is going to be, again, we're in kind of a high stakes mode at this point to see if they slow down or not.
Yeah, same thing. I'm not going to spend a drive. Yeah, one gilded, one regular. The regular is a 5 and the gilded is a 2. So I'll take the 5 for a mixed success.
Okay, so with the mixed success, for a moment, as you ask them to slow down, they continue to stride forward, not seeming to slow down at first. And Marvin, you have a moment where you see them leaving, getting further and further away, and there's this strange sensation you feel, this like being left behind.
Oh no.
While they're only about 30 feet away, they feel like they are getting further and further and further and further and further as you feel yourself just fading in the distance. You're going to take a brain on that. But they do eventually, they're like, come on, hurry up, pick it up.
I'm trying, I'm running.
As they run back to the main area there, take a little bit of time, but they do realize that Viktor is gone. And they kind of start looking around at this point, and that's where we're going to cut away from Corporal Hannigan, Officer Jasper, Marvin, as they arrive back to Dom, Viktor, and Arthur at the entrance of this building here. As you get to this factory building, Dom, you would first notice on the ground there's broken glass there. The window is shattered. You know how big these things are as you see that. But as you go to reach for the door, you grab it and it is locked. You feel yourself like kind of shunt up against it as you try and go in, but it is locked.
Okay. Is it like chain lock or is it locked at the...
Simply just like a deadbolt, essentially.
Okay. Well, this is what I'm here for. I'll do another feat of strength, and I'll bust it down. I'll shoulder it. I'll take a few steps back, have my gun ready, and I'll charge it. I'm not going to use any dice because I might be able to do a second one. I don't know how high stakes it'll be, but I guess everyone's coming. Oh man, there's time involved. Okay, I only have 3 more of these left, but I have 3 die and one's a... Yeah, I'll just do the 3. And one is gilded. Come on. All right, this door's going down and I'm ready. I have a maneuver in mind for when I bust through. Okay, I got a 6, not gilded, but it's a 6. All right, so he hits it right at the seam of the door. So he can, he'll swing in with it. He'll duck into a roll and come upright again, brandishing his sidearm. And he is unblinkingly looking around, looking for targets, scanning up, scanning down. He knows well enough not to just go side to side. You got to be a 360 on this.
All right, perfect. So as you push through that door, going into a roll, immediately scanning the area, surveying it, as you look around, you see in this space, it is dark and quiet. You see various shadows, but they are machines, these lifeless statues standing within this room. A little bit of light is peeking in, but it is quite dark in here. But what you do notice, along parts of the wall, you see this almost shimmering white silken thread along some of the machines in this space as Arthur and Viktor approach as well.
Okay, have I seen this silken material before?
You have.
Okay, and what does it mean to me?
This is the beginning of a nest.
Okay. All right, I'm putting my bead on everything. Like I'm looking down the barrel at everything.
Go ahead and make a survey roll for me.
Okay. So I only have one of these, and I do not have anything to add to it.
As you start to look around, is Arthur and Viktor coming into the building, or are you staying outside? What are the two of you doing before Dom makes this roll?
I think seeing where Dom has gone, like seeing him go to this building, Victor's gut instinct is just follow right after him and find this thing that killed Philip.
So you walk in and you see him looking around. Arthur.
I think after kind of knowing how Dom works and trusting a bit of his process here, I'm gonna stand in the doorway and see if, at least from the doorway, I can maybe grab a piece of this silk such thing going around and pocket it.
Are you being careful about it, or are you simply just grabbing it?
If it's within arm reach, I'll arm reach it. If it's a little above arm reach, I'll use my my lecturing stick to pull it down.
Yeah, so it's just a little bit out of arm reach. You extend your lecturing stick and you're able to collect a bit of that silken thread, that webbing.
And then I will probably step immediately outside the doorway, probably no more than like a foot, and just kind of keep an eye out and see if anyone's coming this way.
As you step in that doorway after collecting a little bit of that silken thread, you see now that Corporal Hannigan, Officer Jasper, and Marvin have returned, and you see that they're a little bit ahead. They're looking around for Viktor at this point. As we cut away from Arthur, as you see this, to Dominik and Viktor inside this Aurum Lumina factory. You're making that survey roll. Go ahead and do it. High stakes.
I rolled a 4.
As you look around, scanning the area, hearing Viktor's footsteps come up next to you, you scan the space and your eyes lock onto something. You see in like this cocoon, in the shape of a human body, you look as you scan up, you see at the top of this cocoon, a face of a man. It's contorted. It looks like they were screaming. Frozen in time, the look of absolute fear upon this man's face. And as you see it, Dom, you can't help but remember all the faces that you had seen like this. You're gonna take a brain.
Dom winces, going back in time 7 years when he was in the field. So that this is one of the ones that fell away. He was asleep. Okay, so they're building a nest. This thing's here. It could be food for the hatchlings, but I gotta find Mama. I have to kill Mama. Where is this thing?
As you continue to look around, you see that where that body is, there is webbing that seems to go into this, almost like this nook, this little attic space that's on the far end of this room here. And you see that the webbing itself gets denser. It almost looks like it's built in a way that almost looks like a trap door, essentially.
Okay.
Circular space that kind of sways just a little bit. It's about 15 feet in diameter, or 5 meters in diameter. The webbing of like where it looks like a trap door.
Okay. How close is this to us? And I think Viktor is at my side. Is that what you
Viktor
said?
is at your side, adjacent to where you see that body of this man that is webbed into the overall structure of this nest. You see it's about, I would say, 20 meters, about 60 feet away from you, and about 20 feet up.
Dom is still on one knee. He pulls up one pant leg, and in a little holster there, or a little sheath, is it's basically an old-fashioned bayonet that he uses for a dagger. Viktor, right?
Yeah.
And he puts it in Viktor's hand. Stay behind me.
Chris, how many weapons do you even have on you?
Shh. And then he rises, but stays hunched over. He has to think that he's been seen, but he needs to get a bead on him, literally, like the bead at the nose of his gun. He's aiming it at that opening. He needs to judge from the movement of that gauzy stuff to get the center of his target, and he's just going to approach slowly until he sees something like that. If he does, he'll stop before he gets about 20 feet. He's hoping to get that movement.
All right, so as you approach, Viktor, do you continue to follow?
Yeah, while trying to be as quiet as possible. I think I'm in a low kind of crouch and I'm following right behind him, trying to scan, kind of like following his eyesight, trying to look for where he's looking, basically.
As you approach, Dom, because you are leading, I'm gonna have you make a hide check for me. Remember, too, you all can help each other, so you can give people drives.
I got nothing.
Okay, this is a high stakes.
Okay. I'm going to use some drive, though.
What drive is it that you're doing?
Hide.
Hide.
So I've got 2 die, and I take the lowest. But I'm
I'll
going
give
to
you
spend...
a drive, too.
Okay, so I'm to 1 die with, not a disadvantage. And I have 3 drive to use if I really want to, and 1 resistance if it doesn't go well. High stakes. I think this is the one. Yep. I'm going to add 3. I'm going to use all 3 of my my drive and cunning. So I got 4 dice. Okay, and this is so that I can try to get the drop on this thing. You can't go second and do well against these things. Okay, I got a 5.
As you and Viktor sneak up quietly towards this, you see it swing up enough where you can get a beat, and you see these glowing amber eyes looking down towards you.
They're there. I whisper that just loud enough for Viktor to hear when I see the eyes.
Victor, you see it too.
It is even more horrifying up close.
I take the shot.
Go ahead and make a control roll for me.
I think as he takes the shot, too, I'm going to not make it at the same time, but like right when I hear that shot go off, I'll try to make a swipe.
Okay, you're going to try and throw?
Oh, yeah, we're not right up next to it yet, huh?
No, we're still at least 25 feet or so.
Yeah, you're down.
Ooh, I'll try to throw my my small knife, like my little baby knife.
I would say if you want to give them a drive, you could as like a help.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would say do that. So whatever you're rolling, add an extra
Okay.
d6, an extra
It's
die.
a control. What is
Control.
it? A shoot?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
cool,
nerve. Yeah,
yeah,
nerve.
for sure.
Okay, so I have 1 dot, and it's gilded, and I have another die from my new friend Viktor, and I'm going to use my specialty sharpshooter. When you want to make a ranged attack, you may spend 1 nerve to steady your aim for shooting, and you may add +2 dice to your shot against the target.
Before you make that roll, we're going to cut away.
Oh, yeah.
Back outside, where we find Marvin as Corporal Hannigan and Officer Jasper. There was that sound of the door being broken down, and they look kind of in that direction, and they see Arthur standing in the doorway, and they begin heading in that direction towards the building there. As they walk, Corporal Hannigan looks towards Arthur. Where's the boy? I'm tired of playing these games, getting to run around. Where is he?
Just real quick, give me a moment. Clarify what you mean by the boy.
Victor Crowel.
Oh, yeah, I believe Officer Navora? I believe that's her name. I believe she handled that. I don't know. We're in there playing the Prosecco puzzle party, and it's getting a little bit rowdy, so I had to come out and get some air.
Arthur, as you say this to Corporal Hannigan, go ahead and make a sway roll for me.
Yeah, I'll spend 2 drive on that.
Marvin, are you doing anything in this moment?
I'm not going to mechanically do anything, but I will say, I really don't appreciate you leveling these accusations against my bodyguards. They've done nothing but be upstanding.
Okay, I got a 5.
Hearing what Marvin says, Corporal Hannigan, all right, you two are gonna, I need the 2 of you to go. You gotta come with me right now. I need to have a talk with you two. Might require a little trip down to the precinct.
Are we under arrest, officer or corporal? I've been nothing but helpful.
I need you two to just, this is an active crime scene still. We have our main suspect is missing at this point.
So
Come with me.
Why are you bothering us? We've tried to help you as much as we can. Go search for him. We'll clear out of this area. I've got to go inside and find my other bodyguard, but I think Dominik tends to drink a little bit much. But I wish you luck on your attempts to find Viktor.
As you say this to Corporal Hannigan, he looks at you, Marvin, just shakes his head, discouraged. But before he looks over to Officer Jasper, go talk to Officer Navarro and we'll search the area for him. After he says that, Officer Jasper leaves. You see Corporal Hannigan walks up to Arthur and grabs him by the cuff of his shirt and pulls him in close. I don't appreciate your, your demeanor in a situation like this.
You know, officer, if you wanted some private time, all you had to do was ask.
You're gonna hear just very briefly this unclick on the side of his belt, and he's gonna take his club and he's gonna jab you right in the chest, and you're gonna take a body as the wind gets knocked out of you, and he's gonna turn around and walk away.
As I kind of drop to my knee from that, I'm gonna see if I can look over to Officer Navarro and kind of do that cutoff sign, you know, where you do your hand at your neck, kind of like the no-go, not good.
Perfect. Yeah, she sees it. She nods back to you, and she immediately starts walking towards Corporal Hannigan. Actually, she walks right past, because Officer Jasper is walking towards her. She just walks right past him towards Corporal Hannigan, ignoring the other officer. As that happens, she walks towards Corporal Hannigan. Conversation begins happening. You can't quite hear. It's a little bit out of earshot. But as that happens, we cut back to inside the factory building here.
Okay, I got four dice here, one of which is gilded. Double 6, one is gilded.
Whoa.
Critical success. Okay.
I'm gonna put back one of those drives too. Nice.
As you fire the gun, Viktor throwing a blade, you just knew where it was. And as you fire through, it tears a hole in this, essentially like this web-trapped door, and you hear this screech. And as it flips open, Viktor's knife flies, and it strikes the creature right in the middle of its head as it crawls out from within and starts climbing up the ceiling to get a high vantage point above the two of you, as it is furious. As it comes out of that, as the trapdoor opens, you see hundreds of these little spiders descending out.
Oh my god. I just look over my shoulder, like the thing is startled for a second, right? After taking a couple hits like that?
Yeah, so it's definitely making its way towards you because of that critical success on that shot. It crawls down, and it's certainly, you hit it in a point between the two of you. It's pretty hurt, but it is also in a desperation mode, and it is coming at you hard. As you strike it, it's going to drop down towards you, and it's going to try and take a swipe. As you see two of its legs, which are sharp like knives, kind of come in like almost like pincers and try and like stab you two in the side. As it does, I need you both to make a move check for me.
Okay. I'm gonna use one of my the drive that I just earned back. You go ahead, Viktor.
Okay, I have mine. I have a 2.
I got a 6 and a 5.
Dom, you're able to leap out of the way, but in doing so, you see Viktor gets kind of pivot into the area where the two pincers.
Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my behind me power here. I spend one nerve to choose an ally in the same area as me who is about to take a mark from a phenomenon, which I think he's about to.
Yeah.
So I describe what I do that allows me to take the mark instead. With that 6, I mean, I'm going to ride that. I'm going to see those pincers coming at this young man that ran directly after me, followed every instruction without hesitation. This kid's a soldier. I jump in front. I basically leap on top of him and take it in the back, whatever is coming at him.
Okay, so you're going to soak one of those. So you're going to take one of those bodies. So yeah, so as you go to block, you're able to, it cuts across your back, tearing your shirt. You feel the blood start to drip down your back, Dom. Because you rolled a 2 on that though, Viktor, it is going to be, so instead of taking 2 bodies, you're only going to take 1 because Dom took one of them for you. As Dom kind of gets in the way, you still get hit by one of these legs as it flings you across, and you crash up against a wall as you take a body.
Ugh.
But as that happens, some of these smaller spiders begin crawling towards you as well. But you have a moment where Mama Nightmare Crawler, she's repositioning herself and looking towards Dom.
I'm gonna empty the rest of the chambers in my 44 on this thing, and I'm going to tuck this guy under my arm and shoot as I walk backwards towards the door, because these things scuttling, I don't have that many bullets. We have to figure this out. Yeah. I don't know how many shots I can get off. I don't know how fast I am. Oh, jeez. Shit is scary, man. So I'm going to do, I only have 2 more of these left. I'm going to use sharpshooter again.
Okay, this is a big roll.
Okay, so I have 3 dice, and one of them is gilded. Oh, okay, I got a 4. The 2 is gilded, but I got to take the 4. This is gonna hurt, Viktor. Hold on.
As you hold on to Viktor, pulling him back with you as you go, and you're just unloading shot after shot after shot, holding Viktor in your arms. As the gun's going off, this nightmare crawler looks you in the eyes, and you feel yourself back on a battlefield once again. One of your own soldiers in your arm, trying to get them back to a safe location as you fire and fire and fire and fire. You just keep clicking on it. After all the bullets have been released from your gun, you just keep clicking and clicking, your eyes locked on this as you see it falling to the ground, but you can't stop. You just keep firing and firing. And Viktor, you feel the wind being squeezed out of you as Dom pulls you back towards the door.
And Dom is growling. He's saying, "Stay with me. Stay with me. Don't stop breathing. Look at me. You're gonna make it."
You are making it quite difficult.
As Viktor says that, you come back to Dom, and you hear just the creature crash on the ground. You hear crushing of the smaller spiders being crushed beneath this massive beast, this nightmare crawler. As you get towards the door, and you kind of bump into Arthur, who is picking himself up from the ground as the small little spiders continue to crawl towards you towards the door.
Burn it down. Burn it down.
And Marvin, you would see this as well as they come to the door. And at this point, too, Captain Navarro seems to have taken Corporal Hannigan and Officer Jasper on a wild goose chase at this point.
Hearing burn it down, I will immediately rip part of my shalvar and dump all the rest of the flash powder that I had used, and just strike a little flint and tinder and chuck that handful into the room. Like, I'm looking for something flammable in that factory, whether that be a wooden box, a crate, something like that.
I wonder if that gauzy stuff will go up.
As you throw that into the building, it does ignite the webbing there, and you start to see the smaller nightmare crawlers chittering away as the flame licks up against the webbing and begins to encapsulate the space as it catches on wooden boxes, and the flames just continue to grow and grow as you just continue to hear these chittering nightmare crawlers just screeching out as the flames begin to erupt, as you all are able to step out of the door, closing it behind you.
There's no sign of the corporal?
It seems they are gone at this point.
Okay, we gotta get out of here. But is everyone safe?
Are you okay? I mean, you were somewhere else for a couple of seconds.
We can't talk about that now.
Okay, but I would like to, so I'm going to remind you.
Viktor will kind of look around and...
Okay, where to next? Does anyone know where that piece of crap? There's an officer that had me in cuffs. He must be looking for me.
Did you tell him where you lived? Because if so, we can go down to the docks, to the harbor front, kind of hide out there for a little.
I did not tell him where I lived. He's kind of a pain in my ass, to be honest. That aside, what's in the harbor fronts?
Oh, it's just where I know the area best. It's just kind of my hangout. Nothing particular about it.
Do you know if they patrol down there frequently, or is it safe?
It's as good as any spot. I suspect you also need an explanation of why we're involved, too. You kind of earned it.
Yeah, I think that would be quite nice, actually.
Okay, guys, this conversation has to be on the road. This place is burning down.
Agreed, let's go.
Okay, we can talk on the way. Yeah.
As you all leave this courtyard where these Aurum Lumina factories reside, you make your way out of here, and that's where we'll end this episode. That concludes assignment 197, Beyond the Veil. Tune in next time as we continue the story of the Circle of Danse Macabre and the mysteries that await them within the twisting streets of Nevermore. Thanks for listening. Hello, Kylie Holub here, Gamemaster of Season 1 of the Streets of Nevermore podcast. I wanted to take a moment to shout out our Patreon subscribers, Benjamin Hadler, Kenneth Torek, The Final Holmes, and Seth George for your support. If you are interested in becoming a patron of the podcast, please head over to patreon.com/Dicescape to learn more about the available tiers and the perks you get for becoming a Dicescape Patreon subscriber. Some of those extra perks and bonus content is available now on the Patreon, including Viktor Crowel's audio logs and office hours with Professor Wright, and a lot more. Links to our Patreon will be found in the show notes, and a link to a video breaking down the various Patreon tiers. Your patronage helps support our small team scattered across the country, put together each episode as we continue to refine our craft, utilize better resources so that we can deliver continually evolving episodes throughout the remainder of the season and beyond. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to sharing the next episode with you soon. Bye-bye. Streets of Nevermore, a Dicescape podcast, was created using the Darrington Press Community Gaming License. The Illuminated World Standard Resource document is owned and copyrighted by Darrington Press, LLC, all rights reserved. Streets of Nevermore, a Dicescape podcast, is adapted and based on content created and owned by Darrington Press. Candela Obscura, Darrington Press, LLC, 2023, available at darringtonpress.com.